start the recording, and then I'll also get some additional audio. It's always good. Aggregate device. Test, test.
Test, test. Test, test.
We're all good.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Fun.
Summer, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, it was lovely so far. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
So I'm here with Summer Lydick. She is a popular artist specializing in floral portraits. She's a resident of Houston, Texas, and Lydick is a full-time entrepreneur, which I love that word, by the way.
Thank you.
And she showcases her bright, colorful paintings at art festivals, public and private shows. Her work is collected all over the States and abroad with clients in Germany, Paris, New York, and Bermuda. Public collections include Lamar University and the Art Museum of Southeast Texas, Jefferson Regional Airport, and SheSpace. And she's joining us today for the Lifelong Learners podcast to talk about her journey and to teach us about art.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Well, today, why don't we, we're at the Rienzi Gardens right now. Summer, her themes are heavily driven by flowers and nature, and so I thought it'd be amazing to hear the birds going and kind of get into that sense.
Yeah, it's excellent location.
Thank you.
I feel right at home. And I'm surprised I know as many plants as I do.
Well, of course. I mean, it's the business, right?
Right. And I focus primarily on sunflowers, in all honesty, because it's a perfect circular environment for me to play with colors. The petals, it's kind of like a color wheel with different slices. So I'm interested in the effects of color to affect change in someone, to uplift their mood, to bring them down. And that's what I was originally doing, was these color maps. I called them mandalas. But people were a little confused. They were like, is that a mum? What is it? And I thought, right, if I want to be even more impactful, I need to use a vehicle that people understand and instantly recognize. And everyone knows flowers. They know the language of flowers. Flowers are simple, they're sweet, they're romantic, they represent love, friendship, everything. We use flowers as gifts in times of grief, in times of celebrations. So that's why I switched to sunflowers. A lot of people say, oh, what's your significance? And I don't want to say, well, it was purely academic. But the more I dig into it, sunflowers are me, because I am bright and cheerful and bold, and I'm always trying to be positive. My family wouldn't necessarily agree with that, but I do try. And sunflowers are what's called heliotropic, so they follow the sun through the course of the day, keeping their head to the sun, and then at night they reset. And if there is no sun, they face each other, which I think is really sweet.
Aww.
And that reminds me of my favorite quote by Mother Teresa. It says, if we know no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other.
That's wonderful.
Isn't it the sweetest thing? So, and as nature relies on itself and each other, and really for us to be successful, we have to rely on each other too.
We have to build that community.
Exactly. Yes. And going back to sunflowers, they grow best in fields together, but not too crowded, because then their blooms will be smaller. Which is the same as people. You don't want them to be too crowded, because then they get kind of antsy and angry.
Like our big cities,
Right.
Everybody kind of does the same thing. Nobody's really a character. They're all just kind of like, part of a big montage.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that sunflower journey, how you're using it as a vehicle to show what you truly want, which is color. So where did your fascination for color come from? Because I feel like a lot of people don't truly see color or understand it until something happens in their life. I know I've had a moment like that myself.
Yeah. As a little child, I was always drawn to color. I always wanted to wear bright, colorful things. And then I hit a period where I was depressed. It was probably puberty. And I got into art school, and I picked up the sense that if my art was not bleeding, dying, or rotting, it wasn't serious. Like, it had to be dark to be serious, and I wanted to be a serious artist. So I started painting things that were dark, and to me, they weren't scary dark. There was just blacks and browns, and it's like when you close your eyes or or you're taking a nap, it's dark. And there's a sense of comfort in that. So to me, these were like womb-like paintings. But people asked often, like, are you depressed? And I was, but I didn't really know it.
Until people started asking
Yeah,
about.
I just thought this is what you do to be a serious artist. And in the meantime, I was doodling hearts and flowers always. And I had a friend say, why don't you ever paint those? And I just laughed. I was like, because that's not serious art, and I'm a serious artist. But making these dark paintings did not come easily to me. And so on the side, I started to experiment with the hearts and the flowers, and it just flowed out of me. And then I realized, what the hell am I doing? This is who I am. So I embraced that, and my depression went away.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, with a lot of other things, a combination of exercise and eating right, but really color makes me feel better more than anything. And it's my goal to get colorful environments in like hospitals and therapists and where you're like in a vulnerable position because you have something going on, you're in the doctor's office or you're in a therapist's office or you're in rehab. You're low. But if you had like a colorful room that's like kind of like a hug, like you're in a safe place, it's going to be okay. That's what I always wanted, was a colorful painting to act as like it's a hug, like a cheerful spirit.
It shows the beauty of the world. Some people often forget the color of the sun. I mean, I have a friend in New York that doesn't see the light of the day often, and they have to take vitamin D, and the sun just depresses them. So it makes sense that if you're either surrounded by lack of color or you're in your own environment that's cut off from the outside world, that you're going to feel that same way.
Yes.
And that your color, even if I do have to be in the hospital getting treatments, if I have a little bit of color, I can remember the beauty of the outside world. Yeah,
and it's hope. It brings us hope. There's a great TED Talk, I don't remember her name, but she talked about the effects of color and how it's biological. And a red berry in the forest is like survival. There's food. We're going to be okay. Some berries, of course, are poisonous, but that's how it became tied into our DNA. As like color is life. We are going to survive because we found these berries in the woods. So we're just genetically wired to be uplifted by color.
And feel other emotions as well.
True.
I know the advertising industry, like you said, red, like we're going to survive. This is going to be great. Marlboros, they're all red.
Right.
Yeah, they're red. And burgers, a lot of fast food restaurants are tied towards that red color.
Yeah, it's alert. It's like, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
It's a seed. Does a seed get you?
A little bit of nature in the face, which is always good. I love it. You're out here in the nature. As long as we don't have any like wasps come to the podcast.
Right. Yeah. I've got carpenter bees in my in my garden now, and they are so funny. Are you familiar with them?
They're either really dangerous or they're very cute.
They're very cute. They're very big, like a bumblebee, and they'll come right up to check you out. They just get right there, and they just hover, and they don't want to do anything but like see what you're up to.
And you're chill about this?
Yeah.
How do you learn to be chill with these like wasps?
Well, wasps are different.
Okay.
They will hurt you because their energy is different. But bees are very gentle. They don't want to sting because if they sting you, they die.
Right.
So, and bumblebees and carpenter bees are just very slow and lethargic, and they just hover. And so they'll just get right up close, right here, and hover. And so, yeah, they're just like, bees are our friends.
Yes, and they bring us honey, too.
Yeah. I mean, they bring us life. Without bees, nothing would be pollinated, and then we couldn't eat any food. So, yeah.
We'd have to eat more plants and spread the seeds elsewhere.
Yeah, but they do a much better job of it than we do.
They do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be eating sunflowers. They're too beautiful to eat.
Yeah, the seeds are great, though, and the oil and the sprouts. Like right now, I grew a bunch of sunflowers from seeds that I got from a location here in Houston. They were drying.
Any place you'd like to recommend to our viewers?
Well, this was a business. It's Cafe Brazil.
Okay.
They lost all their bamboo right there in the corner, and they planted sunflowers last year. And I was going to yoga just right next door. And I took lots of pictures of their sunflowers and made a couple paintings based on my sketches from the photos. And then the heads stop being heliotropic once they get so heavy with seeds and they like, fall down, and then you just cut them and dry them out. So I took
You cut off the head?
Mm-hmm.
Do you eat the sunflower seeds?
Yeah, you can. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And then you just soak the seeds and plant them, and within a day, they pop up.
Wow.
I know. It's so fast.
So you can get sunflower seeds from live sunflowers, or are there gardening stores that would also sell sunflower seeds?
Yeah, sure. But you can just get them at the grocery store. The edible sunflowers.
But they can't be salted, right?
Oh, I don't know how that would affect it. I would still soak it a little bit, like 12 hours, and then pop them in the ground. And overnight, they will pop up.
Wow. Only one way to try.
That's right. Yeah.
Last weekend, we planted a garden for my mother, and we had cucumbers. And within a day, they sprouted.
Yeah, we have
Crazy.
cucumbers, too. Yeah.
Do you pickle them?
We are hoping to. This will be our
Yes.
first year. They're about little sprouts this tall. We've already got our garden bed and our trellis set up, so now we just have to put them in the ground. But yeah, one of the reasons we recently moved, so I can grow sunflowers, so I can study them more, so I can paint them better.
Yes.
You know.
How long have you been painting sunflowers?
Intentionally for a couple of years, but I was drawing them. One of my very first paintings in college was of daisies. My mother is a gardener. She still is a very active gardener, so I grew up watching her grow all of the things. And so it was just always in the back of my mind. I taught art lessons for a while, and I used sunflowers as a prop a lot of times, but I was still making that serious black, dark art. And so I've been drawing sunflowers for a long time, but intentionally focused on them as my trademark. Probably 4 years, 3 years, 4 years.
I love the trademark.
You know, it'd have something that I'm recognizable for. And it's an easy shape, I understand, and I could paint it in my sleep. And I want to paint. I'm a painter, so I don't want to have to come into my canvas every day and be like, what am I going to paint now?
You know, it's sunflowers.
I just know. And from that routine and repetition, then the muse shows up, inspiration shows up, things start happening. But if every day I'm like, I don't know what to paint, I'm not inspired, then I won't paint. So I just automatically start with something that works. And that works for me.
And then you riff off of that.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to hear more about your progression with sunflowers. You know, it seems like something you can draw really well, but once you get to that certain level, it's like, how can you extrapolate and make it maybe abstract, or how do you change it? How do you make it better? How do you always improve?
Yeah, so when I first started, I was very academic about it, and I wanted it to look exactly like a sunflower. Now that I'm training myself to paint very fast and produce a lot of work, the perfectionism is leaving the door, and the expressionism is taking over. So things are more quickly executed, which I feel it brings more energy to it, because I'm capturing the energy and the expression of the flower, which can be a little more abstract and can be a little more like a quick sketch. But I'm mostly interested in the color combinations and just taking any and all rules that I learned from academia and throwing them out the door. Yeah. So I'm like, what happens when I mix this? And what happens when I put this color next to this color? I mix them together. And then what happens when I put a neon line on top of that? So to me, it's a color experiment with the hope that it will be uplifting, positive, and cheerful at the end of the day. That's the goal, is how much color and pattern and texture can I pack into this and still let it be like a wow shot of color right to your heart.
I got you. And there's infinite things you can do with those goals in mind.
Right, yeah. I mean, so my goal now is to just do a flower on top of a gorgeous background, something that I'm interested in painting. Originally, for a while, I thought I was going to be a fashion designer because I love
I mean, look at this
fashion.
outfit right here. It's just gorgeous, from the earrings down to the shoes.
Thank you.
I
Let's
don't
see if I can get the shoes in
Woo!
there.
That's a
there's
great
leaves
shot.
stuck on it.
No, it looks fantastic.
So I love fashion. I love your shirt.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. So my goal now, I was like, why can't I just paint those things and then put a flower on top of it and see how that plays out? And that there's infinite amount of combinations.
So
that
many
way.
cool backgrounds in the world.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to take other like pop painters like Andy Warhol, he's recognizable for putting a face on a block of color, and he did that over and over and over and over and over. Another favorite of mine, huge favorite, Ashley Longshore. Her trademark is a portrait of Audrey Hepburn with different headpieces and different backgrounds, and she's done hundreds of them, if not thousands, and it's a recognizable thing. She will never run out of options. And I want to do that too. I want to paint for as long as I can. So a flower and a colorful background, I can't go wrong.
You start simple and you're able to do so much with it because you're not put in any boxes. And I
Right.
feel like you don't live any of your life inside of a box.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it's good to still have structure. When I was an abstract painter, I think that's the hardest thing to do because you're literally walking blind in the creation process. You're following your materials, you're following whims. You don't know where it's going, when it's over, and it's really difficult. So I like to show up now with a structure in mind. I'm painting a flower, and I love color, and I'm going to combine those together in some way. And that's the goal, is to just keep painting as long as I can. And I have found something that I'm never going to get tired of.
And we're never going to get tired of enjoying your paintings.
Yeah.
The story of how me and Summer met is we were at the art festival. What was the name of it?
Bayou City Art Festival
Bayou
here
City.
in Houston.
Yes, it was a beautiful festival, a lot of amazing artists. And, you know, I'd been walking around most of the day, and it was hot, and I had a snow cone, and my dog was really tired. And I was just kind of a little bit lethargic, you know what I mean? And, you know, I was doing a loop, and Summer's booth was, like, right at the end, so I was really tired. And I just see this, like, basically like a little hut. And through the door, I just see like an explosion of color. It looks like someone like blew up like a paint truck in there or something. And I peek my head in, and I just like open up into a new world.
Yeah.
And the way that I felt energized and awake and excited, that childlike wonder, and everything to like the carpet had color on it. And out walks Summer in her beautiful outfit, and we have an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
And it just brought so much life to my day seeing that color, and I instantly knew that I had to speak with you and understand more about your journey.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's color therapy at work right there. And I have my booth set up in a way that it's an enveloping environment. So you come in and you're surrounded by these hot pink walls and all these flowers, with the goal to be uplifting and to make you feel good. And it's funny, little kids come in there and they spin around.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of bees come in there and try to like pollinate the paintings, which is fun.
That's when you know you're doing a good job. When even the nature is like, is this real? I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm glad it worked.
Wonderful. You had spoken about the backgrounds that you want to put behind your sunflowers. Is travel an inspiration into that?
Yes, specifically tropical locations. I am a beach girl. I want to live in Costa Rica full time. So my idea for the flowers is and using tropical elements. I'm branching into like bird of paradise and torch ginger and more tropical flowers, as well as palms and monsteras. Because I want to replicate the feeling of what it's like to be in a tropical location in my work. So visiting those places, there's lots of sun, and then there's the sea breeze, and I'm trying to use colors and movement in my work that evoke the places that I've been.
You want your paintings to have that emotional impact through color, through that location, things that people can tie emotions to, positive emotions. I think a lot of our children have positive emotions tied to these colors.
Yeah.
You know, because when you go to a playpen, it's not a gray playpen.
You're right. Yeah.
It's all these colors. And so I think there's a part of attachment between our childlike happiness in these colors. And
Yeah.
the same with vacation. I mean,
Totally.
when I look at like a palm tree, California is beautiful. I remember that one vacation I had. It brings that emotion, so you can. It's like a window into not necessarily the past, but a previous emotion.
Yes. Yeah. And usually a positive time. I mean, if you had a really negative time in the tropics, I mean, maybe mountains are your scene, then, I mean, I'm not your girl. My work is not for you. But yeah, and that's another thing that makes art so special, is because it can evoke a time and a place and have a real emotional impact on the viewer. And as an artist, it's important for me to keep my energy clean and to show up in the studio every day with the express intent of creating something cheerful and uplifting for the world. And not to say that being angsty and angry makes your artwork less valuable or less valid. There's absolutely a place for that too. And I've seen a lot of work that's made me cry, that's made me like want to leave and get away from it. It does capture energy that the artist is feeling themselves and putting into the work.
And I think it's great to experience someone's emotions and tie their emotions to your own experiences. But I do think we need more positive experiences or interactions in our lives. I mean, things are so crazy with the news and with the computers we have in our lives, on our wrist and in our hands. There's a lot of information, and I think being consciously tilted towards positivity is so important. It's okay to feel negatively, because that's life,
right?
But it's good to be positive.
Yeah, and it seems that the negative stuff weighs heavier in our psyche, and it's so much easier to find in the world and on the news. You have to really look for good things. And I think that's just a survival technique. Like, we're geared to protect ourselves, so we're always like looking for the obstacles, looking for the negative things so we can steer clear of it. But we need to be looking for the positive and focusing on the positive, so that every day is not a shit show. But
it's
all,
not
but
us
it's like,
protecting
yeah,
ourselves
you get
the
to
whole
wait.
thing.
Like, it's Christmas morning. You're like, yes, I get to wake up and I get to do this today, instead of, oh God, traffic.
I have work on Monday.
Right, yeah. So I want to be like a harbinger of positivity in the world. I've definitely had my fair share of depression and angst and sadness, and the world can take that. I know the world can handle the heaviness as well. For me, I just choose something better for myself because it makes me feel better.
I like it too better. If I would have walked into the same enveloping hut and it was all like dark and gray and stuff, and you come out and it's like black lipstick, it would have been a little bit different.
Totally different.
A little bit.
And that's valid. There are people like that do that. I've got 2 teenagers that are doing that right now, which is so hard because we cannot relate at all. Because
they don't relate to your art at all?
No. And they are my boyfriend's kids, to be honest. And we are complete opposites. I mean, I'm colorful, happy, cheerful, positive, and they are in this like heavy, dark, black, angsty funk. And I'm like, I know this is just a phase. Please don't lean into it.
Yeah.
Don't take it personally.
They just got to find their sunflower.
Yeah.
That would be a cool slogan. Find your sunflower.
Okay.
It's cute.
That is good.
I want to talk about your process
a
little bit, because it seems like you're very, adept at pushing away, or I don't want to say pushing away the negativity, but channeling your positivity and getting to the canvas and doing the same thing every day, knowing what you're going to do. You do yoga as well. How do you keep the mind right, positivity going, and the inspiration flowing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I spend most of my morning prepping my body and my brain for those things. I get up early, I meditate, I do affirmations and visualizations. I drink, I don't drink coffee because it jacks with my energy. Yes,
totally.
Even though it's delicious.
There is decaf.
Even that, I'm just like, and do yoga, and I walk my dogs. And so by the time I actually sit down or get to my studio, it's like 10:30, and I've taken care of everything. Everything is on point. It's aligned. It's focused. I'm fed, brain, body, emotions. And then I get to work, and I'll work till like 6 or 7 every night. not every day is a studio day. But yeah, and I listen to positive things. I read positive books. I'm always trying to get better, not only with my art, but personally in the business side of things, with my relationships. I mean, learning how to do better with my dogs, because my life is only as good as I am. It's not just going to magically change or get better. Like if I want my dog to not run and bark at the door, I have to teach her how to not do that. So I got to learn how to do that.
There's no such thing as an untrainable dog, just untrainable humans.
Right, yeah. And they're just stubborn. They can be trained.
Yeah,
They're just
they have emotions too and personalities.
Yeah.
You got to work with them.
Yeah.
Just like teenagers.
Right. Yes. So, you know, when I was in a really dark period of my life after a breakup, I couldn't paint. Like I just could not get myself to the studio. I couldn't paint. Nothing was flowing. I was just in grief. And what I did do was cut up those little paint strips from the paint store into those little color blocks, the paint sample.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to paste those on paper and then do little dots. So that was like my way of still trying to stay connected to color and the painting process. But I couldn't paint. So for a lot of people that aren't familiar with art, they feel, you know, they've heard the myth that you make your best work when you're drunk or stoned or you're in grief or you're just in all this drama.
Mm-hmm.
And that,
like Starry Night, it was painted from that asylum.
Yeah. Van Gogh, bless his heart, he was such a sweet person and misunderstood.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorites personally.
Oh yeah, he's amazing. Have you seen that movie where the whole thing is painted?
What?
It's called Vincent.
Oh,
Pretty
I'll
sure.
have to check
the
it out.
entire movie is painted in his style. It's like animated.
Wow.
Over 200 artists painted the entire movie.
I will have to
It's
check
incredible.
that out.
You
I
would
saw the
freak out
the
about it.
documentary about it, and it was a little bit more depressing because it was pretty honest.
Well,
but I like the paint aspect. It sounds
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. So, that's a myth that you make your best work when you're at your lowest point. I personally cannot create at all.
What about truest point?
What?
Truest.
I don't know that.
Like true.
Oh,
Like when you're yourself.
yeah. That's me right now. Like when I'm my truest. I thought it was like some philosophy, a truest philosophy. I was like, what is that?
I'm not that highbrow. Not yet. I do try to learn a lot, but I wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at my truest self is very simple. Like eating good food, walking my dogs, doing yoga, and painting flowers. That's as great as it gets for me. If
That's
I can
life.
just get more like diamonds and bling and a vacation home, then that would be paradise. Yeah.
A diamond would look
ultimately-
beautiful on a sunflower. I just thought about that.
Yeah, I guess I could try to put some rhinestones in it or something.
I think
eventually.
the differences between the smooth curves of a sunflower and the sharp edges of like
Oh,
a
I see.
cut
Yeah.
diamond.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just spitballing here.
Well, that's a good point. Right now, I have a lot of paintings at Tootsie's,
Hmm.
and they pair my
Go check them out, by the way.
paintings
Yeah.
with their fashions.
That's awesome. What
It's
a great job to
amazing.
be able to pair art with fashion. Because
Yes.
you said you want to be a fashion designer, so it's like maybe that's like the other half of you, and they're coming together like double
Totally.
helix.
Yes, totally. Cheers to that. Yeah.
Cheers. I love it. That's the first ever we've done a microphone cheers. I love it. That's going to happen more often.
Cool. But yeah, I am very inspired by fashion, and so I pitched the collaboration to them to have my work in the display windows for spring. And then they pair them with their mannequins and then the latest spring fashions. And there's one up right now. It's a black canvas. I call it this Neon Jungle series because I was really inspired by this musician. She's a DJ named Closey.
I know Closey.
Did you go to her
With
show?
2 E's.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 E's. She was here in Houston in November.
I've been out of the rave scene for like probably
Oh.
2 years.
Okay.
Do you like Closey or
She was amazing.
are you into like all that sort of music or Closey specifically?
I like her specifically. I follow a couple of others, but I don't even know if I could tell you who they were. I mean,
Yeah,
her
I
two
got you.
openers were fantastic, but I
Oh,
don't
she was the
remember.
headliner.
She was, yeah.
Oh, she must have been busy while I was 2
Yeah.
years out of the business.
Yeah,
Aw,
yeah.
That was fantastic. How was the show?
It was amazing, and the tour was called Neon Jungle, which is promoting her latest album. And I thought, I like that idea because it was a lot of tropical elements with neon colors. So I did a painting that's very similar. It's black, lots of tropical leaves, and very edgy and pointy like the diamond. And then they paired it with this really soft, bubbly dress. And interesting, the painting and the dress are the same price.
Wow. Well, two for the, there's got to be some sort of like BOGO or something. You get them both.
Oh, wow. That'd be funny. But it's a really cool contrast with my pointed edges and dark composition, and then this really flowy, fluffy dress. So you have to go check it out.
Yeah, if it's still there. I'm going to go to Tootsie's after this. I
Yeah,
want to check
it should
out.
be up at least a month. End of this month, maybe through mid-May.
That'd be a fantastic gift to give someone a piece of art that matches their dress.
Yeah. Well, and that is a goal, too, for me to get into fabric design. Because I think my work would be great printed on fabrics and be turned into, like, bedding and drapery and fashion.
I love that.
It's just a matter
idea.
of time.
Wallpapers.
Yeah.
Just get more color in your life. That's another one. Get more color in your
Yeah,
life.
get more color.
I love it.
Yes.
I like to cook a lot, and I feel similar inspirations to the color.
It's very similar.
Because I feel like when you bite into something that it's almost like my brains can, how do I say this? When you eat something, I visualize like a music note. Different like high treble notes and bass notes and that sort of thing. And it like basically paints a picture on your tongue.
It does,
So,
totally.
when I'm trying out different cooking techniques, this could use a little, citrus or some acid to spike it up and give it a flair. Or, this needs some like umami, some bass notes. I think it's amazing to tap into that and to be able to share your art to me is also so amazing to watch people's experience. I'm sure it's fantastic for you as well, getting to see when they finally unbox the painting or they purchase it or they walk in and say, this is the one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've had people cry when they look at my work. I've had, people laugh. People are definitely affected. So that to me is the greatest thing. Because a lot of times you're in your studio painting by yourself, and you're like, is this going to work? I think it's great. Or I don't know, let's just put it out there anyway. And then to have people be emotionally affected by something I made, similar to cooking. Like when people are like, wow, when they taste it and they're like transported to another time and place, or a place that they've never even been to. And they're just like, this is amazing. Like you don't even have words for it because it's such a sensual experience.
Very intimate as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And sensual, I'm glad you brought that up. You, you're self-proclaimed a sensual artist, right?
Yes, which means I'm just very motivated by my senses. Smells, tastes, touches, the weather. And that's another thing I want to be at the beach because I love the feel of the wind and the sun on my skin.
Breeze.
Yeah. When COVID happened and we were all shut down, I walked my dogs in the neighborhood a lot of times in a bikini just because I needed to feel the sun on my skin to keep me grounded.
Do the neighbors know that you're an artist?
No, not really.
There's the art girl walking around in a bikini with her dog.
But we didn't have, face-to-face connection. I was single and working alone, so I didn't have that touch. But the feel of the sun on my skin, the tree brushing against me, it just kept me grounded. So I have anxiety, and that's how I stay in my body. It's like, oh, right, I'm here, like rubbing my arm, wearing fabrics that feel good, being in the sun, having hot water, like sensual things keep me here. Otherwise, I'm in my head, I'm worrying, I'm somewhere else. So that's what being a sensualist is to me, like using my senses to stay in my body.
I love that. I feel that kids are very sensual as well. They're grabbing this, they'd probably be licking it, biting flowers. They feel and they sense because they have no archetypes in their head of how things have worked in the past or past failures that shroud them. One thing that I've been doing lately to feel a little bit more is walking barefoot.
Yes.
I
Perfect.
forgot who told me about this.
Yeah.
My mom has like a patch of like kind of sharp. They're probably too sharp to, for me to be walking on all the time. But walking on it, it's like so relieving. It increases the blood flow in my foot. And I've had foot issues. I was born with really flat feet, where I guess I developed them probably. And I have bunions like an 80-year-old grandmother. I mean, if you want to
Is that what makes them just curve like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, when they're curved out.
Okay.
That's the bunion
Okay.
right there. And so I've had foot problems, I've had surgeries and that sort of thing. And what I found is walking barefoot, having no support on my shoes, very bare sensing, has really helped my foot journey.
That's awesome. Wow. So it's like giving you a tactile
Yes.
response or stimulus that you can respond to. Yeah.
Because instead of having dumb feet that just press on there, you feel it. And yoga's also
Yeah.
helped with that as
Yeah.
well. Like the Warrior Threes, you're gripping onto that floor for dear life.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I love yoga because it forces you to be in your body and not in your head. Because the minute you start thinking about, oh, I didn't call that person back. Oh, I got to do that. You fall over. Yeah. So it forces you to be in the present moment and in your body.
And it's nice to play around again in a safe space where it's okay to try new things, to fall, to fail, to enjoy the nature of others.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an adult playground.
Totally.
I always have the most fun when I'm like playing with kids. I have a lot of family members that have little kids,
Okay.
and I notice at the family functions, all the adults are, we're serious adults drinking alcohol, and then the kids are like running around like banshees and like putting stuff in their hair, and they always have the best time.
They do, yeah. They're living in the moment and expressing their personalities through movement. And we are built to move. I learned yesterday that there's 78% of Americans are obese. That is ridiculous. And we are built to move and to never stop moving.
We've built a world around us where we don't have to move anymore.
I know.
We don't have
And
to do it.
It'll be our death.
I mean, think about delivered groceries. Back in the day, we'd have to go out and hunt and gather and move to do this. And now you don't have to do anything.
Just push a button for anything.
Yeah, all my friends in big cities, they do that, which is great. And it's important to be productive and to use these new technologies, use a phone. But it is so important, and I like that you have it as part of your routine every morning. I have to move because it's like an ancestral tenet almost that you have to get it done. And once you get it done, you're free to live your life and be normal, be yourself, and not be this angsty person that is missing something from their life.
Yeah. Yeah. Exercise primes the body. It primes your brain. It gets literally the blood pumping, everything flowing and moving, so that you can think clearer, make better decisions. You can breathe better. Your body is not stiff.
You look sexier.
Way sexier.
Everybody likes to look sexy.
That's true. Yeah. Except for those 78% of Americans that are obese. They're not concerned with sexiness.
I want to get into a little bit of a controversial topic.
Okay.
How do you feel about the positive like body image movement?
That is a great topic. I love it because it's showing that multiple shapes and sizes are valid. I'm concerned, though, that we're normalizing unhealthy habits.
I think that's really well put. I feel the same.
You know, it's one thing to have a couple of extra pounds or, to not be perfect. That's awesome. But when you're getting 30, 40 pounds overweight, you need medication to keep going. And you're not going to feel your best. So I like that we are representing and showing a diverse group of people. That's very, very important. I'm just concerned that we're pushing a little too far in, well, like case in point, have you seen that show This Is Us with Mandy Moore?
Network television.
I just
I've heard
saw it
of
once. Well, there's a
Okay.
character on there. She's got to be at least 400 pounds, 500 pounds. Yeah.
I mean, just think of Lizzo. She
Right.
kicks ass. I have seen her.
That's the truth, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Lizzo is amazing in so many ways. And I love that she's bringing an awareness to this body type. And does she feel okay? Can she climb stairs? Can she function well?
She plays the
like,
trumpet.
does she have
She's like breaking down
diabetes?
splits.
Like, is she healthy? And maybe that's just, maybe science is changing and is like, actually, you can be healthy and be overweight. I don't know.
I think health is a spectrum for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
I like that people are positive, like you said. And I feel that even if you're at the start of your health journey, your fitness journey, you're still beautiful. And it's so important to be positive and feel that. But it's not good to cope with bad, unhealthy habits.
Right. Yes. And that's what, and only that person will know. I mean, I cannot
Everybody's
know.
different.
Right. But as far as the body positivity movement goes, I love it.
Mhm.
I love seeing different shapes and sizes half naked at the beach. I love it.
I'm in for nude beaches. I think they're great.
Same.
My
I'm just concerned, like, do you feel your best? Are you healthy? Are you going to live a long life? And that's only between that person and their
yeah,
habits.
themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to live for a long time. And I want my body to be good. I think that's the most important. It's not like what age you live to, but how you live through that age
Right.
is so important. I see some people that are like just jaw dropping, like their age and their physique. I mean,
Yeah.
I know people that are 40 that look better than 20-year-olds.
Sure.
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And it's
Mhm.
just amazing. For me, it brings a lot of positivity and like, hey, I gotta like keep on kicking ass because I want this brain. What I have right now, I'm 24, so things are like primed. It's a great time. I want that to last forever.
Absolutely.
And like you want to paint forever. And
Yeah.
I think some of your best works are gonna come, way down the line
For sure.
because you're always improving. And that's
Yeah.
that's the theme of the podcast is lifelong learners. It's always trying new things, growing your skills, learning, growing. I think lifelong growers is pretty
I
cool
love
too,
it.
as well.
Yeah. Well, and there are definitely things that I could not have painted 10 years ago because I couldn't sit still that long. I didn't have the bandwidth to focus on certain things because, I mean, I was in my 30s and 20s and, just didn't know how to put my pants on. So, like, now that I'm older, I'm like, right, I can come to this with a sense of maturity and stillness that allows me to explore things a little deeper and see things that I didn't see before because I couldn't pay attention.
Is that a skill that you've had to develop? And if so, how?
I think it just comes with getting older and living through experiences and getting knocked down quite a bit. Because sometimes you get knocked down and you are down for a while, and you're like, well,
But never out.
right, like, well, while I'm down here, might as well see what else is going on. And in that stillness, you learn so much depth that you didn't know was capable of. Like, I've heard it referred to as like the dark lake of pain. Like, we all have this dark lake of pain that we're really terrified of. But if you actually sit with it and go there to your stillness, you're like, wow, that's really scary and terrifying. And I'm still here.
You learn to live with
And I'm
it.
surviving. And yeah, you learn to live with it. And then your greatest fear becomes like your ally. And you're like, all right, that didn't kill me. Let's try this thing.
I love it.
And in that experience, I'm able to sit through things that would have taken me out of the game before. Something simple as like painting a peony, which has lots of multiple petals. I'd be like, oh, no way, I can't do that. But now I'm like, wow, that's really gorgeous. Let's see what I can do.
And if you mess up or if you don't like it, it's not the end of the world because you failed before.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. So failure is really the key to success.
I love that, being able to fail and get back up. And it's so, to your point, like liberating
Yeah.
to know that fear, when you fail, you're no longer going to be scared of something. I remember when I was just learning. So I learned how to ride a bike when I was like a young kid, but recently I got a mountain bike about like
Okay.
2 years ago. And the first time I got on that puppy, I was scared deathless. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're riding on every single bump, you're
Right.
scared and riding in the road. And, you skin your knees a few times, you fall over. I went to Colorado and absolutely rolled down the mountain so many times.
Yikes.
But I felt great afterwards because it didn't kill me and you kind of brush it off. And towards the end, I was, driving without fear, and I just think it's so liberating to try new things and to not
Yeah,
be afraid of failure.
For sure. And going back to what you asked about travel, I've traveled all over by myself as a single woman.
I
And
love that.
Thank you. So many people have been like scared for me. And like, how can you do that? I'm like, well, it's like life. If you die, game over.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy. You die, you're done.
Yeah.
But if you survive, you have some pretty bitchin' stories. So
Do you have a good story you'd like to share? Sorry to cut you off. I was
No,
just
India comes to mind. That was a terrifying trip for 40 days.
40 days in India?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
I
God.
did it as like a pilgrimage for my 40th birthday. I was with a tour group, but even then, we were so close to life and death because it's India. You're like in the mouth of hell, and then you're also on the highest or gemstone covered hill. It's incredible. You see everything in one street. Like there was one time I was on the street in Varanasi, and Varanasi is called the City of the Dead because that's where they burn bodies openly on the banks of the Ganges River. And we had stopped to get a mango lassi. A lassi is a yogurt drink, really famous in India. It's amazing. And I was so nauseous and just sick that day. And I was waiting for my friends or the other tour people to get their lassi. There were monkeys jumping down to pick up the banana peels and things that were being used to make them. Water buffalo were sharing space with the motorcycles as they were going down the street. And while I was standing against the ancient building, 9 different bodies passed me on pyres. That was just like the street, I guess, one of them to walk to the river. It was so jarring to see so much life and death happening all in this cacophonous way in front of me. And it was so loud and stinky, and it was, yuck. And then later that night, we were on the Ganges in a boat, and we watched all of them, the burning bodies from the boat, and they're just all right there. So that was really an amazing experience. Very traumatic, too. And I learned so much about color in India. From just the light. They're always burning stuff, so the light is always filtered with smoke.
Oh, I
so
love that.
colors and the atmosphere is always very different, unlike anything I've
And they have a
seen
lot of
here.
powders that they wear, right?
Yeah. What I learned in Rajasthan, which is more North India, the saris that they wear are bright yellows and reds and oranges. And I was like, why are they just like eye-searing so bright? Because it was surrounded by desert and dusk, and these women would wear these most beautiful fancy things, and they're carting water jugs on their heads, and they're walking in the street barefoot. And that was so surreal to me, to see this insane beauty surrounded by the worst poverty. And I thought, oh, it's the contrast. It's the contrast that makes all of this so striking. And so when I got home, I started painting, putting bright colors next to muted, dull, muddy colors. And the bright color was just like on fire after that. So you could say a lot about that. Like adversity really does make us stronger and sharper and more clear.
Also, when you went out on this pilgrimage, was your main goal to further develop your artistic skills, or was it, I just want to go out, vacation, enjoy, live life a little bit, and then it just comes to you because you're living, and so much of your work and what you do is based on life experiences, so you need those in order to produce great works?
It wasn't a vacation. I knew what I was getting into. I'd always been fascinated by India for the fabrics and the textiles and the mehndi, which is the henna that they put on their hands. That is an art in itself. And the architecture. It was just so, amazingly beautiful. So I wanted to see it in person. I knew it would be rough. I just wasn't exactly expecting it to be like Middle Ages rough. I mean, to see like a goat hanging from a tree with its throat slit, and that was like the community picnic. And people in the villages were brushing their teeth with sticks, like sticks from the neem tree. It was civilization at its very beginning.
Rawest form.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
There's no wastewater treatment plant that kind of hides away the sewage, and the butchers that do their things in their corner. Everything's out there in front of you. You're experiencing life with no borders.
Right. Yeah. Here, everything's prepackaged and plastic and, instant gratification. Everything's clean and sanitized and nice. And there, it's just living literally hand to mouth and in the dirt. And it was great to see. I feel like everybody should see that so that they know how amazing it is to be here, and to be in a civilized uh, environment. It's the contrast. We need the contrast
To bring
to be,
gratitude.
to be grateful for all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, being grateful. I've started a gratitude journal
Oh, good. Yeah.
lately, and it's really helped me as well.
Yeah.
Just realizing how lucky we are to be alive and all the amazing things we experience. I mean, there's infinite things to be happy about.
Yeah.
And if you, to your like point about affirmations, if you fill your brain with positive things, my life is great, my life is great, good things happen.
Right.
And you're no longer, and it's not that you're lying to yourself, it's that you're not letting the negative thoughts, which everybody has, like they're there, you don't let them control you. You know, when I'm having a podcast, I could be thinking, oh, how is it going to go wrong? I got to make sure I ask this question. Or you could just flip the mindset and say, hey, this is going to be so amazing. I'm speaking with this awesome person. And things just go really well that way.
Yeah, the brain is a very simple computer. What you put into the computer is what it will spit out. So if you train your brain to go be positive and think good things, that's what will start to happen for you. And then the opposite is true. So I feel like mind control and affirmations are the key to life. That's the secret to life. And most people don't know that. They think
Because it's like voodoo stuff, you know what I mean?
and
Oh,
it's
you
so
just say
simple.
this and
all
it
you have
happens?
to do is say, I can, I will, and it is done. Like, it's just where you put your focus is what happens.
I am fascinated by quantum mechanics, which is like the
Okay.
study of things at their most granular level. And the deeper I look into that science, the more I realize the spirituality is
Yeah.
like very tied to things at a molecular level. Like the quanta are kind of like both at the same time, and it gets pretty complex. But all I can say is like the more you look down at things, the more you realize things aren't like always as physical as you think they are. You know, I'm not really touching anything here. This is just like a force I'm feeling.
Right.
And it's all about our perception. That is
Yeah.
what's most important.
Right. Yes. And if we are looking through rose-colored glasses, then everything will be rosy and pretty. And if we're looking through fear, COVID, news, shooting glasses, then your life is going to be pretty shitty.
I have family members that are so enthralled by the news. And it's good to be educated, but they spend their whole life looking at certain things, and I do see an impact on the way that they view their life. And it's not to say that it's like, you know, is their whole life, but a portion of them is focused on that. And it's sad to see people focus so much of their energy on things that are negative or. You know.
Yeah, like I said, it's easy. It's easy because it surrounds us. You turn on the TV and that's all you see. You're confronted with traffic and, taxes, all these things that aren't necessarily fun. So it's easy to think that's reality. And negativity weighs heavier in the mind than positivity.
And negativity also seeks out other negativity. You know,
Oh, yeah.
misery loves company.
Yeah.
If I don't like something, I love when someone else doesn't like something. We can, riff about how crappy it is and, but that's enough negativity for my mind. I want to talk a little bit about the business aspect.
Okay.
You've been able to make this a successful, business. You're an entrepreneur. Walk me through your journey a little bit on when you started selling things. How did you measure your expenses and your profits, and how do you keep this vision alive?
Yeah, the business side for me is still the major learning curve. I started selling things. Anytime I put something out there, it would sell. So I thought, oh, maybe there's something to this. And so when I did it on a bigger scale and eventually moved to be full-time, I realized I have to run this as a business. I have a product to sell. I'm just the same as Nike or Gucci or anybody else. I have a product that I'm selling. So I have to find my audience. I have to price it that it's attractive to that audience. And that requires sales and marketing, that whole business language stuff, which it's not my forte. It's a language that I'm learning, and it's fun. It's exciting. Not as exciting as selling a painting or creating one. but it's a work in progress, and eventually I'm still a solopreneur, but the goal is to have assistants that can handle a lot of these things, because it's a full-time job to market, it's a full-time job to sell, it's a full-time job to paint.
I mean, how many marketers does Nike have?
Right, and I think marketing is probably more important than the actual product, because
Sadly.
I know, yeah, it's an art form in itself, and your product can be kind of shitty, but the way you talk about it and sell it and market it, it could be the most successful thing.
I've noticed that a lot with this podcast. When I first started, I spent a lot of time on like marketing, making short clips, and it spent so much time.
Yeah.
And I realized like this doesn't make me happy. I want to create. And then
Yeah.
I realized, hey, the creation, that's what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. And realized that it might not be like the business, the maker of money. But at the end of the day, I want to, it's my project. I want to do it a certain way.
Yeah.
Because I'm like a realist. I like the product, and I don't like the marketing. And
Yeah.
that's an aspect I'm really not great at.
Yeah, and you could have the greatest product ever and the greatest message, and if nobody knows about it, it's just going to stay right where you make it. So I want everyone to know about it. I want to be a household name. I want to write my own name in the art history books, and to do that, I have to have an amazing PR campaign. So that's what I'm learning now, and that's going to take a long time to just learn that and keep climbing.
Well, I think you're on a great track. I mean, putting your
Thank
art
you.
in Tootsie's, and by the way you did that, you just asked.
Right, and yeah, you can only just ask. Just ask. That's how you do everything.
That's how I got her on the podcast.
That's right. Or I kind of asked you. I was like, let's do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I mean, it's like dating. You got to put yourself out there. Not everything is going to be a match, but you just keep looking. You hold the vision of what you want, and you just put it out there and trust that it will come.
And things get better when you fail. I remember probably the first job application I sent out, it was like all this work and stuff and fear, or like picking up girls, the same thing. And the more you do it, the more you get comfortable with yourself.
Right.
And it's like a journey of learning who you are, which is also amazing.
Yes, yeah.
And that's what I try to do every day, is learn a little bit more about myself and a little bit more about my world. And in the spirit of the podcast, I do always ask if the guest has anything that other people could learn from. I know you've shared a lot about your journey.
Yeah.
Is there any like fun fact or something about your journey that you just have to make sure everybody learns and at least hears?
Just don't give up. That's the biggest thing for me. Being an artist full time is kind of like being a unicorn. It can be very lonely, and people are like, "Oh, wow, how do you do that?" I'm like, "Well, it's not easy, but to be an accountant or something else would be killing me. So I'd much rather
A little bit every day, right? Just a little bit every day.
I'd much rather live my dreams and fail and be authentic than try something, than take a safe job that I hate. So, I mean, I feel like you can get there as long as you don't give up. So just don't give up on your dreams. Give yourself a chance.
I want to cheers to that.
Yay!
That's
Yes.
amazing. Well, Summer, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Let the people know where they can find your art.
Yeah, so you can find me anywhere online. You can Google me, Summer Lydick, or my website, summerlydick.com. Instagram is summerlydick.art. And yeah, I'm at art festivals. My goal is to get an in-person studio gallery. So within the next couple of years, you'll be able to walk in and shop my gallery and enjoy the things I have for sale there. Yeah, so find me, follow me. I'm open to suggestions and encouragement and positive feedback.
Keep your eyes open. You'll be seeing more sunflowers around the city. I know it.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Likewise.